Welcome back to Critics Corner. Today we're talking about American Vandal, specifically Season 2, because that has been recently released on Netflix for your viewing pleasure. So, Season 2, if you watched Season 1, you know why we're here, why we're talking about it. American Vandal Season 1 was the bee's knees, was the cat's pajamas, was all the good stuff, all wrapped into one. We had incredibly realistic characters. We had those idiot high schoolers that you had at your high school, that I had at my high school, that Bill had at his high school. We had all the idiots. We had the smart kids. We got the nerds. We got the cliques, the usual gimmicks. Except it wasn't done in a really cliche, stupid BS way. It was like real people. So maybe they were idiots, but they were still idiots like with a soul. Maybe you didn't go to school with those, but those happen at some schools. So, American Vandal Season 2 is not taking place at the same school as Season 1. It is taking place at St. Bernardine, an all-Catholic private school. And the crime this time is so much worse. So, Season 1, you have the crime vandalism, because it's American Vandal, because it's vandalism. But Season 2 starts off with a whole other mess entirely. If you have a weak stomach, have someone watch the first episode and tell you about it, because you're not going to be able to handle it. What Season 2 begins with is effectively a chemical attack on this private school. That's right, it's laxatives in their lemonade. They're putting laxatives in the lemonade. So Season 2 starts off incredibly powerful. It's messy. It's crazy. It'll get you watching. And then it hits the same grind, follows the same kind of formula as Season 1 did. Now, why I think Season 2 is not quite up to par as Season 1. Number one, we've seen Season 1 already. So Season 1 was fantastic because we didn't have something else that was like it. Everything was new, everything was a surprise, everything was interesting. Season 2, you kind of can tell where the writers were looking and saying, oh, here's the part where the plot did this in Season 1, so now we're going to make the plot do that in Season 2. You can tell they're into a groove. That doesn't mean that those plot devices weren't good. That doesn't mean that the show's not interesting. You can just tell that it's in its... it's going through those motions, and it's not as surprising and engaging anymore. Number 2, I think that the crime has gotten a little bit too wild. And that's not to say that it's not interesting, because it grabs you, man. It is nuts, and it will keep you watching. But one of the reasons why Season 1 was so good was because when I watched it, I would forget that I was watching a fictional series, and I thought that I was watching a real crime documentary. And then, when they'd have the music playing, and they'd be in the interview, and they'd zoom in on the guy's face and be a really tense, emotional moment, they would say something like, "Did you draw the dicks?" And I would just, be thrown back, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I care about all of these characters. And that's the joke. The joke is that it's not real, but it could be. And it's being taken super, super seriously. And that's what makes it funny. In the second season, everything is a little bit more out there. It's a little bit more wild. You're not at a public high school, you're at a private Catholic school. So you've already got some weird tropes in that are kind of separating you from what's going on in the series, unless you went to a private Catholic high school. You've got the crime is much more outlandish. It's much higher scale. Instead of some kid just being suspended, you're looking at someone facing real legal penalties. So that is another distance. It's not some overcomplicated thing that's taken too seriously because it's just a prank gone wrong. This is something that from the very beginning is framed as some sort of revenge scheme attack on the school. That being said, I think Season 2 consistently holds up what Season 1 lays out by saying, here is what we're going to take seriously. Here's how far we're going to take things. Here's how interesting, here's how in-depth we're going to make all of these characters, and we're going to make all of the whole mess of the politics, of the interpersonal relationships of any high school in America. We're going to take all of that, we're going to make it feel as real as possible. So, American Vandal Season 1, I would say 100% a 10 out of 10. Season 2, I'm going to have to go with a 9 out of 10 because it's just a little bit less original and it's just a little bit less engaging than the first season. However, if you enjoyed the first season, you better go out and watch the second season right now because you will enjoy it.